Hi everyone, I'm back. Um, I am pushed by the angels right now to make this um, video about the dark night of the soul. And the reason I'm doing this is because myself and many others who I know who've contacted me are going through this right now. And what it is a part of our awakening or ascension. The earth is ascending, and she has gone from third dimensional earth to fourth dimensional earth, and now she is going into the fifth dimension. And because of this, we are being pushed or given the opportunity to go into the fifth dimension as well. But in order to do that, we need to make some changes. And because if we remain the way we are, we will not be a vibrational um, match for the earth and the others around us. So it would be like taking a murderer and putting them in heaven and expecting it to remain heavenly. Because if this murderer, or say a narcissist, if they're put anywhere, they're going to be themselves. And if they are themselves, the environment would not be very heavenly. Having somebody running around killing people, or having someone running around throwing tantrums and demanding and manipulating and lying and gaslighting, that is third dimensional. And so some of us are being given the opportunity to change and go into the fifth dimension. Like I said, in order to make these changes, there are at least 5 different steps in the awakening or ascension. And I think it's the third step that is called the dark night of the soul. And this step, I have a cough drop, that's why I keep making that word movement with my mouth. Anyway, the dark night of the soul is, I believe, the third step in the 5. And it is a very crucial step because it's our souls and the vibrations that are pushing us to cleanse and get rid of our egos and anything that doesn't serve us in our authentic selves. So in order to go to the fifth dimension, we need to be authentic and true and raw, and like a baby, when they come here, they're authentic. Um, they know nothing, and they're happy, and they're joyous children, love to play, and they love to draw and paint and dance and create. And these are things that we should be doing, loving and enjoying our lives, and loving and enjoying others, and sharing our creativities. And those are the things that bring love and joy into the world and help to raise the vibrations of the earth and of us. And so in order to be able to move on to the fifth dimension, we need to shed all of the programming and the ego traits that hold us back. I thought, mistakenly, I admit it, that I had already gone through all of this, that I had been through the dark night of the soul, and I had, but I didn't finish it. And I went through the dark night of the soul years ago, and I went through it for about a year, maybe two. And I thought I was complete. Just to find out recently that I wasn't complete, and I have a lot of things that I need to purge and deal with and go through in order to be authentic, in order to be that soul being, instead of, being who I became from environmental pressures and programming. I need to become my true self, and in doing that I can connect with my higher self. And I've been talking to my higher self and connecting with my higher self, but the angels have told me that my higher self can actually connect and link with me, and we'll work together. That has not happened yet, and I kept wondering, why that hadn't happened, because I had finished all of the 5 steps and was sure that I was awakened and ascended. I lived without expectations. I had forgiven everyone, even myself. I, was very happy just being me. But I have come to find out that when I was growing up, I was raised by a narcissistic mother, and she was, the normal narcissistic mother. She had my father. No, Ivory. No. Dog trying to go down the hallway, and usually when she goes down there, she wets the floor. Sorry. Anyway, my father did not stick up or stand up for me. He actually, when he was ordered to by my mother, he beat me up a couple of times. I mean, actually fist blows to my head and face, and any place that they landed didn't matter. He was doing what he was told to do by his loving wife. So, then after, and there were a lot of things that were wrong and happened to me as the scapegoat of the family. And I was forced to get pregnant and get married when I was 18. And of course, I wound up with a narcissist. I married a narcissist. And that was miserable. I tried to divorce him, and between him and my mother, they went to my attorney's office, and my attorney um, took my money and was going to go to court for my husband. And he tried to bill me $65 after he informed me that he had changed horses in midstream. And I let him know that if I ever received another bill, I would go to the Bar Association. So I never got another bill, but my husband did. But yeah, so many horrible things that they did to me. But I learned that my wants and needs were not important, that what I was proud of, they would just tear it apart and pull it down. No matter what I accomplished, it was taken away from me. And then I got a divorce from him after 14 years of marriage. We finally got divorced. And I had wanted to get divorced every day from the beginning, but we didn't. And after we got divorced, it was about a year and a half later, or 2 years, that I got remarried. And this man was pretty much the same. He was loving and kind and wonderful and fantastic, and I was bragging about how wonderful he was and how much I loved him the day that my daughter came to me and informed me that he was molesting her. Then, just a few days later, I got a couple of phone calls from banks in the area that he had taken out loans and a checking account in my name. And they couldn't come after me, though they were trying to, but they couldn't because it wasn't my signature on those papers. I didn't have anything to do with that checking account. I knew nothing about it. And he was bouncing checks all over the place in my name. And I found out then that he was a gambler from way back, and so he took out loans all over the place with my name on them. He, like I said, took out checking accounts and wrote out big checks in my name. He never did have to go to court over it, but he had to eventually make good on most of it. I gave him a car after we got divorced, and he put the car up as collateral for a loan and never paid it back, so they took the car. Then his friend felt sorry for him, and his friend gave him a car, and the same thing happened. And someone else gave him a car, and the same thing happened. He never took responsibility for molesting my daughter. I mean, he said that he did it. He told the exact same story that she told. But instead of actually taking responsibility for what he had done, he blamed it on me, that I asked him to make a meal maybe twice a month. I asked him occasionally to do a load of laundry once in a while. And he said that he never would have molested my daughter if I didn't expect so much of him. So pathetic. I mean, absolutely pathetic. But that's how it was. And I spent my whole life with narcissists and alcoholics and I was absolutely a codependent person. Like I said, I went through the dark night of the soul before, and I thought that I had broken my codependency. I thought that I, um, had cleared all of my ego problems, but I hadn't. I still have a narcissist in my daily life. And in order to get along with that narcissist and, you know, have a happy home life, I continued, as I had been taught from my childhood, to give them complete control of anything and everything they wanted control of. And I had put my foot down about abusive physical behavior. That ended um, a number of years, many years ago. It went on with me for probably 6, 7 years, and it ended. Although there were times that I got grabbed and screamed at, and the screaming went on for a long time. And that too has gotten better, and the punishments have gotten better. And because of all of these things getting better, I thought that I was being authentic. I thought that I had stood up for myself and that things were going well. But as you probably know, I spend most of my time by myself, whether I'm here at home or I'm up at the camper. And I was up at the camper this year from the end of April until just this last week. And while I was up there, I started having these symptoms. And the main symptom, or first symptom, was back here uh, on between my neck and my shoulder, on the back there. It feels like, in fact, I'm having it right now, like someone is touching my back and they're sending constant high pressure electrical energy into my shoulder. And so it's constantly tingling and irritating. If you've ever had electrical energy constantly on your skin, it can become very irritating. And sometimes the level is so high that it's horrible. And it would begin as soon as I would get up in the morning, and it wouldn't stop until I would go to bed at night. Also, I was having ringing in my right ear. And I went through that before when I thought I had fully awakened. But it stopped. And that's why I thought I was fully awake, because all those signs and symptoms and downloads had stopped. But when I went up to the property and was staying there by myself, the dark night of the soul came to me, and I started becoming, I don't know if you'd call it aware, very aware that I was not happy, giving up complete and total control to someone else. That I have done it for many, many, many years, and that I am just done with it. I'm sick and tired of it. I would be there at the camper by myself, doing things my way, and living happily, just me and the dog and the garden and the um, mother nature, and all the beauty around us, and connecting with my soul and connecting with Mother Nature. And the more I connected with that, the more I realized that I am not fully awake because I still had things that I was doing that were unfair to my soul, were unfair to me. And even though I can easily continue to do those things, I don't want to. My soul doesn't want me to. It wouldn't be real, it wouldn't be authentic if I continued to allow someone to have complete and total control of everything. And for me to be authentic, I need to step into my real self. And in order to do that, I have to put my foot down and say no more. So I know this now. It took me a while. What really triggered me was being there by myself for the whole week. And then on the weekends, people would come up to see me, and all of a sudden, all the control I had had all week was gone. And I couldn't do things the way I liked to do them. I couldn't have things the way I wanted to have them. All of a sudden, I had to change everything. And I only had to change it for the weekend, and I could change it back once my visitors left, but it began to anger me and upset me, and it wasn't right. I needed to put my foot down and say, no, you don't come in and start changing everything and pushing me around. I'm not going to tolerate that anymore. I can't. So, right now we're going through a lot of changes. Me learning to be authentic, and me learning to stand up for myself, and learning to determine what I really cannot give up, where I want a little bit of control, and I need to draw those lines and make them very clear. And the other person loves me very much, and they would like to pretend that it hasn't been happening. But they are willing to try to work with me and to communicate with me and to listen to me, so we can continue to, grow and be together. I know it can be really hard for people to be forced to change like that. But I am being forced to change, and I can't deny my soul that any longer. Um, when our souls get tired of things, with some people, I have a friend who their husband cheated on them a long time ago, and she stayed with him, and they worked it out, or so she thought. But sadly, it's coming back now to haunt her again, and she's becoming angry about it and upset about it, and acting out emotionally about it. And it's the dark night of the soul pushing her to finally work through what happened. She doesn't have to get rid of him. She doesn't have to, be angry or nasty, but she needs to recognize that she has not dealt with the emotions that she still has over it, and that until she really deals with it, it's going to keep coming back to haunt her. So she needs to do something about it. And it is the dark night of the soul. It's her having to purge that part of her ego in order to be real and authentic and happy. Now, I have another friend who, they like the amount of money that they're making because they're making good money at their job. They're very good at what they do, but they're getting a little older, and what they do is getting more difficult to do. Also, they don't like the people, the managers over them. They don't like the people they work with. They have, through the years, worked in many toxic situations. This place that they're at now isn't quite as toxic, but they are not happy there, just not happy, don't feel the fit. And I think their soul is talking to them and telling them that there are things that they should be doing other than what they are doing. So they too are going through the dark night of the soul. They need to work through it and find a way to satisfy their soul and be authentic and be real. And until they can do that, they're going to continue to go through this dark night of the soul. There was another woman who she just became very depressed and very upset and very unhappy about everything. And she would just break down crying for no reason. And she felt like God wasn't there with her, and that Jesus wasn't there with her, and that she just felt this big block. And she is a very religious woman. And so for her to be blocked from God is, very scary and upsetting to her. And she too, right now, is going through the dark night of the soul. Exactly what changes she needs to make in her life, you know, tearing down the ego, tearing down the old ways, living authentically, you know, that's something that she has to determine. She has to figure that out. A lot of the people who are going through the dark night of the soul right now are like this last woman. They don't know what they need to work on. They don't know exactly why they are feeling this way and what it is that their soul is expecting them to change and to do. They just know that nothing feels right and that they just feel so wrong in their own skin. And, you know, it can be so hard to have to go through this. And yet, at the end of the tunnel, it's beautiful, you know. We will be awakened. There will be ascension. There will be the fifth dimension. But there are many things that we have to go through to become our authentic selves. And another thing that the angels have said to me is to make sure that the videos that I'm doing here on YouTube are authentic, that they really are something that my soul is speaking to me to do, or that they're telling me to do, but really my soul, because the angels can tell me to do something, but if it doesn't resonate with my soul, then I shouldn't do it. And that's like with anything. This is the big thing I'm going through right now, is people telling me, or, you know, someone telling me what I have to do, and recognizing if it feels real, if it feels authentic, if it feels true to me. And if it doesn't, then I need to say no. You know, this isn't going to work for me. And, you know, I have to own that. And I have to be okay with that. And it's something for me that is very, well, it's not completely new. Because, you know, in the last 25 years, I have had to learn to speak up and to, you know, draw boundaries and lines. But now I am having to draw these unmovable lines and absolute boundaries, and not allow myself to give in just to get along. And my situation is not unique. There are a lot of people who have this same situation. They just don't recognize it. They don't know it. They don't realize that they have not been authentic. They have not been real and true to themselves. And that they have sold themselves to others for love. The problem is that if you're having to give up and you're having to give total control to somebody else, that isn't love. Love should be unconditional. And if you have to give stuff up to get what you need, then that's conditional. And you should not be doing that, because it's not going to sit right with your soul. And that's that's exactly where I'm at right now, is recognizing what is right with my soul. and making sure that the love that I do have in my life is unconditional, because I've been giving out unconditional love everywhere, and I have no problem giving out unconditional love. It just flows through me. But when it comes to me getting unconditional love, I'm not familiar with that. I've never had that except from my son. And he died when he was 10. So I did have a couple of men when I was, one young man when I was in high school who, like, wished that I would have listened to him, because he did have unconditional love for me. But I turned him down and went with the narcissist instead. When you have been abused and mistreated, you go with what you know. And sadly, that's what I did. Then there was another gentleman after my first divorce who kept asking me out, but I kept turning him down. And then one day I decided that I would go out on a date with him because he was different. And I had decided I did deserve to have a good person in my life. So I went to the restaurant where he always went to, and where we had bumped into each other here and there, and I was expecting to see him, and instead I saw his friends all grief-stricken and upset because this man had died that day from bee stings. No, I'm not laughing. My lips are dry, sorry. I guess that I needed to go through all of those things. I had lessons I needed to learn, and even though those opportunities were there, I turned them down because I was supposed to, because I had to learn those lessons. And now I have to learn the lesson that I've always been worthy. I've always been good enough. I was born good enough. I have always been good enough, and I will always be good enough. And there is no one on this earth who is better than me, and I am better than no one else. And our souls and the angels are there to teach us these lessons, and we need to listen. We need to open our hearts, our minds, and drop the ego, because a lot of people think of the ego as this powerful, I'm better than you type of thing, but that isn't the case with many people. We all have an ego. Everybody has an ego. If you have a body, you have an ego. And our egos have been trained and programmed, and some of them are arrogant and haughty, and some think very lowly of themselves. They have been taught that they, are not worthy of having their wants and needs met, that they're worthless and ignorant and below other people. And when we start to believe that, then we are that. So, if you're having that same problem, you need to work through that and realize that you are worthy, you are good enough, and that God and the angels love you. You have every right to everything good in your life. And if you have people who are trying to take that away from you, and they're trying to tell you that you are less than, it's time to get those people out of your life. It's time to stand up for yourself. So, I've gone on over 40 minutes here, but, this is a message that I really felt I needed to give to you, and I hope that it will help you in your journey. Blessings, love, light. Namaste. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.